Hey everybody, welcome to another RV episode. I'm Mason.
And I'm Ashley.
Today we're going to be sharing 6 tips that we learned from our first week full-time RVing.
We hope that by sharing them with you, you don't make some of the same mistakes that we made.
Enjoy.
Okay, so for starters, you'll want to, if possible, live in your RV near wherever you're currently located before moving in for full-time RV.
Take it from us, guys. When we got into the RV, we literally loaded up our entire house, all of our belongings, into our truck, drove to the dealer, threw everything in it, and took off on a long drive. It's not the way to go.
If we could do it all over again, we would have rented a site for even up to a week minimum, and just lived in Auburn, where we were living, in the RV, while, there is the downside of having to pay double rent at both locations, but it would be well worth it because you can discover things like maintenance issues or what tools you actually need to bring, what ones you might not need to bring. Just really living in it for a week, getting comfortable, and figuring out what you do and don't need.
Yeah, if you can afford it, or if you can set aside a budget to just pay double rent, even if you have an apartment or a house, book an RV site that's close to where you live and live there for, like she said, at least a week, because that way you can get set up, you can get everything organized, and when you're ready to go full time, you can just actually start that transition very smoothly. It was very chaotic for us. It's still very chaotic, and we're in our second week right now, and had we have taken the time to just live in the RV for a little bit, it would have really saved us a huge headache. All right, so now you're ready to get in the RV and head off. Well, prep some food, bring some water.
This is what we did very well. We had learned from many other road trips that this is the best way to travel. What we had done is prepped all of our food. So we made breakfast sandwiches, we had lunch prepared, and then we even had dinner fully cooked, so that all we had to do when we got to our RV for our first initial setup was throw it in the microwave and we were good. We didn't have to worry about trying to find something that was actually open or looking for food. We didn't have to drive anywhere for it. It was all ready and a nice, healthy option.
Yeah, we had a cooler packed full of food and had plenty of water, and that was really nice because we were already very stressed out about having to drive a huge trailer for the first time, or pull a huge trailer for the first time. So being able to have all that meals kind of prepped and taken care of just mean we didn't have to stop at a fast food joint with a trailer, which we didn't have any experience with, or even a restaurant. So highly recommend just having some food, having some snacks, having some water. That way you can just pull into rest areas and really kind of mitigate a lot of that anxiety.
Third, I would recommend not having an 8-hour day on your first day. Maybe if you could start really early. However, we had to go pick up our trailer and we weren't even hitting the road until 10 a.m., 11 a.m. So if possible, plan for maybe a 4-hour drive. If Google says 4 hours, it's likely going to take you, with the RV going slower than highway speed limits, about 5 hours. So plan accordingly.
Yeah, and you want to take your time. You don't want to be in a rush this first time you're towing a travel trailer, and it's very scary. There's a lot of anxiety, and what we did was very stupid. I wouldn't recommend it. We were battling weather, all these sort of things, and we're in California, so when you're towing a trailer in California, the max towing speed is 55 miles an hour, which is all you really want to go when you're first starting out. However, it doesn't really calculate the amount of time. I mean, we were looking at Google Maps, and the drive time was about 6 hours, but that's going 80 miles an hour. When you're towing a trailer, it's really closer to 8 or 9, stopping, getting fuel, all these other anxieties that are adding to that. You want to give yourself some time. So just have a nice short drive to your first RV park, learn in the trailer, learn how it drives. It'll save you a huge headache moving forward.
And just remember, Google Maps is not an accurate representation of how long your drive will actually take. Be sure to calculate that you will be going slower than what it thinks you will be.
All right, so number 4 is check the weather throughout the entire course of your drive. So ideally, if you're doing a short drive, it's pretty easy. You look at one location, maybe just the final destination, and the weather's all good. However, since we were doing a little bit of a longer drive, we had to look at the weather throughout the entire Southern California region all the way into Las Vegas, Nevada. So that was pretty important to us. We actually ended up going a southern route. We were planning to go the northern route, but there was a huge blizzard. However, going south, we avoided the blizzard, but we still encountered a ton of rain and a ton of wind.
With the weather, just make sure that if it is something that doesn't look like great conditions, say there's a big rainstorm or a big windstorm, maybe you should think about resting for a couple hours, and that has to do with planning the shorter route and being flexible, because if you only have a 5-hour drive, maybe you can pull over for those 2 hours that it's raining and finish your drive with good weather.
Yeah. So just, check the weather. Make sure you check that throughout the entire course of the drive. You want to look at temperatures. This is winter right now, so I was looking at mountain passes. I wanted to make sure we weren't hitting any ice or snow because we did have to go over a few mountain passes, and that obviously is just stress you don't want to deal with. So keep an eye on it. Make sure you check. We had to check all the day before we were checking the weather just because it changes so rapidly, especially in the winter.
Right. For number 5, it has to do with once you actually get to the RV park. Parking. It's so important. We parked in not the best spot. We took quite a bit of time in order to find what we thought was going to be the best spot, because it makes almost common sense where you're going to want to make sure that all of your sewer lines fit, your power cable fits, but what you don't think about are the bushes beside the sewer lines that you're going to be hitting if you're too close to them, and you also don't think about where your door it opens up. We left that on a grass patch instead of the cement patch. So we were tracking in a lot of grass that we didn't necessarily have to.
Yeah, the first 4 days in the trailer, our door, you go down the steps, you're in a pile of grass, and okay, you don't think that's a big deal. We didn't really even notice it when we parked, but throughout the entire time, every day, our trailer was completely full of grass, and we had to sweep, and it was just a real kind of pain. And so, a lot of that too, which kind of relates to the other stuff, is we arrived at the park after 8 hours of driving super late, and so we were exhausted. The time we got all set up, which was our first time setting up, because we didn't have any practice going into this, we were exhausted. We didn't even pay attention to the park job and how that really mattered. And so, we learned after a few days now doing this that really is important, and it's a little simple thing you can do right from the beginning, and it makes your entire life so much easier. All right, number 6, a super important one: be flexible.
You have to be flexible. We, day 1, had maintenance issues, and instead of just spending the one night in Las Vegas like we had planned, we ended up there for about 5 or 6 nights.
Yeah, one of our tanks was leaking, brand new RV, and we had to have a mobile mechanic come out and try to fix it. Of course, his fix didn't work, but we still ended up having to stay there for 5 or 6 days, which was okay. We just had to accept it. This is our life now. We're a full-time RV. This is our home. We can't go anywhere. We need to get this issue fixed, and that's the way it worked out.
And it was great. So with the flexibility and a flexible mindset, we decided that we could focus on all the positives. Vegas had a ton of sunshine, and we were able to live and experience the warmer climate opposed to where we are now near Salt Lake City in the winter.
Yeah, and overall it wasn't that bad, and we just took our time. We had to kind of wait around some weather as well, and then we just made our way to Salt Lake when the time was right. And honestly, this is the life of a full-time RVer, is what's the rush? Where do you need to be? The whole point of this experience is that you can be somewhere or be anywhere you want. And so that was a kind of a different mindset we had to go into it, because we are the type of people where we have a plan, we want to stick to it, but it's okay. You have to live with that, and you have to make adjustments.
You be flexible and never be in a rush. We're on the road. There's nowhere to be. So just take your time and enjoy the experience.
Absolutely. So hopefully these tips are helpful. We really encourage people to try some of them before, going out in your full-time RV. Learn from us. Do it the better way. If this video was helpful, please subscribe.
Yeah, send us comments. If there's any other tips that you can give to the community watching, go ahead, comment them below. We'd love to hear from you.
NAROutdoors.com, @NAROutdoors on Instagram. Thanks for watching.
Hopefully we see you on the trails.
See you guys later.